What's up, everybody? It's Jerry Scarlato. I'm here with the infamous Cassie for another episode of the Good Wolf Project. Today, we're going to talk about extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, and specifically how to best utilize them both, I'll say, to be able to keep you motivated as you move forward, as you try to pursue the goals that you're after, as you go through life. Motivation is a very, I'll say, it is, I don't want to say but it is definitely one of the top three things that are in your life, always, all the time. Also, it is the thing that kills people the most. It kills people's dreams, actions, pursuits the most. And I'll say, and we didn't actually talk about this beforehand, but I'm going to go down this rabbit hole for just 1 second. We don't do rabbit holes often around here, so
Nope,
I figured
definitely not how we pretty much run this podcast.
So I figured we might as well try something new.
You can't see them on the board. There's a huge layout of all the things that we're going to talk about, and bullet points and
very
lines
extensive.
and arrows.
Yep, it's very extensive.
Yep. We didn't even write the title on there today.
Well, we did.
Sometimes we do that. We write the title on the board, but
Yeah,
it's not even there.
but it's not even there.
Nope.
No, literally, we talked about this as we were walking.
Yes.
So most people fail to understand that there are two types of motivation. There's motivation, the feeling, and then there is motivation, the act, or the being. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Let me see if I can explain what I mean.
Please do.
So most people quit and stop because they're like, I don't feel motivated to do it anymore, right? And so when you don't feel motivated to do something, you take it as, I don't want to actually do it anymore. What you don't recognize is that it's probably not, like, the feeling of motivation will come and go. It'll, like, moment to moment sometimes, day to day definitely, week to week often, month to month, year to year, in different aspects, in different ways, and so on and so forth. So relying on the feeling of motivation to get you to do something is a very dangerous thing. And yet, motivation is also the thing that we need in order to pursue things. Actually, we are all pursuing the things that we are motivated to pursue. Always, all the time. Always. Every moment of every day, we are motivated to pursue the thing that is in front of us, in some way, shape, or form. What you don't recognize is that underlying drive of motivation, maybe is a way to put it. So we're too damn busy paying attention to the feeling of motivation. I don't feel motivated to work out. I don't feel motivated to eat right. I don't feel motivated to go and do an extra rep. But you completely ignore what usually is an unconscious drive of motivation, which you can utilize as a conscious drive of motivation if you recognize that it's actually there. As an example, many people spend many hours on their phone scrolling, which most of those people, if you ask them, I would imagine admit that it is a complete and utter waste of time and a drain of life. And it literally, for most people, is nothing. Now, with that said, there's plenty of good on social media that can be had. To be totally honest, though, most people don't use it that way. The motivation, the underlying unconscious motivation to sit there and scroll for hours on end. And most people probably wouldn't admit this, but it is to ignore the things that you have to actually do. And it is to ignore the things that you actually know you should be doing instead. Now, there's other potential motivations, but I would argue for most people, it's so that they don't have to think about the things that they really should be doing with their life and the things that are hard to do and all the other things that take effort to actually put into. So the unconscious motivation behind that is that. So that is a long intro to external or extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, but I think it's important to understand the difference between the two. That the feeling of motivation is useless, is utterly useless. Because if you rely on that, you will never do anything, you'll never accomplish anything. You'll always feel bad about yourself because you're not doing anything, because you never feel motivated to do anything. I don't feel motivated to not do things or do things often. Often. So if I relied on that, I would be the guy from The Sopranos sitting behind a plate of spaghetti with a big ass belly and lots of gold rings saying, hey, let's bring me another glass of wine. That sounded like Elvis. It did not sound like an Italian guy. Anyway.
It's okay. You're not Italian, so we wouldn't expect that from you.
Wait a second. Moving on. So I think understanding the difference between the two, motivation, the drive, and motivation, the feeling, is important. Now, within motivation, the drive, what pushes you to actually do something? You might also call that why or purpose or something like that. Like those are all fancy ways of saying things that motivate you, right? Your why. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? It's your motivation for doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that you should focus on instead of the feeling of motivation. And when we talk about extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation, that's what we're talking about. Are the drivers that are either extrinsic to you or intrinsic to you that you're motivated by.
Now, would you consider the feelings intrinsic? Because when you're thinking about like a workout, like I don't feel motivated to do this, but you go ahead and do it anyway, and then you feel good about it. But we've talked about just feelings in general and thoughts about things. They're just thoughts. And they're just feelings. So even just becoming aware of them and be like, all right, why don't I feel motivated, or why am I feeling this way? Is it actually motivation, or is it just that's the thing we just say, but it's actually something else? So I think a lot of it, I'm saying in my perspective, so becoming aware of emotions in general is a new concept for me, and I think for many it's either new or non-existent, because usually you just feel a certain way and then you're just like, I feel this way, and then you just move on. So I think you can approach that same thing by saying like, okay, yeah, I just don't feel motivated to work out today, and then just move on with it. But why are you, like, is that the actual emotion you're feeling? Or is it just, I feel sore today? Or is there another reason for why we're saying motivated? Because if I said I'm just not motivated to do it, what would be like a follow-up question you would tell someone? Because I know you've worked with people that have been like, yeah, I just don't feel motivated to do it. What's the first thing that you would say to them?
The first question I would ask?
Yeah. Other than like, why? Or maybe you would, but like, would you don't just ask usually one question?
No, for sure, because you can typically walk the person into the answer that
right,
the real answer.
Right.
So typically it's like, what happened today? Like, how was your day? Like,
yeah.
What's been going on? The day was okay. Like, what about this week? Like, how's the week been? Because typically when you don't feel motivated, it's usually because it's something that's gone on throughout the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something. It's not because like, oh, I'm just not motivated to work out because of the workout. It's because of something that had to do with the day.
Right. Now, the reason I bring this up is because if then you think about, and whether you're having a conversation with somebody or you say to yourself, like, man, I'm just like really not motivated. If you take an extra 2 minutes to think about why you are not motivated, be like, well, I got a really bad grade on my exam or my boss yelled at me. And then you just maybe think more about that. You can maybe turn the motivation back on itself and just be like, yeah, that was really crappy. Exercise would be solid right now because that would make me feel better. And then you now transferred motivation into something else. I don't know. When you said it as like a feeling or emotion, because I was going to actually ask you, what is your response when someone at the gym would say, yeah, I'm just not motivated today? If you say like, hey, you're kind of dragging a little bit. Yeah, I'm just not motivated today. I feel like that's just something people say to fill a gap because thinking about the actual emotion is way too exhausting. Guilty.
Facts.
So I feel like if we use, that's another way to, I guess, to turn motivation into a positive, because motivation, like you were saying, can kind of drag you down depending on what is motivating you or how you're being motivated. But thinking it in that regard as motivation as a feeling, you could probably turn it into, because sometimes you say like, wow, I'm really motivated today. So it can be a negative or a positive. So I feel like anytime the word motivated comes out of your mouth in a negative connotation, just take a couple seconds to think why you're using it in a negative connotation. Because I think motivation, for the most part, if you say it, is a positive word. Because it's usually driving you in a certain direction. It's something that you're wanting to do. So you're just making it a bad word.
Facts. Which is what it's just it is a thing that has a negative connotation generally to it because of that.
Yeah.
Because we think we have to be motivated or not be motivated in order to do something.
Right.
We think that.
Like you said, you're always motivated.
Everything that you're doing, you're motivated to do it for some reason, whether you're aware of it or not. Like it's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
You are motivated to lay on your fat ass on the couch, eating potato chips, watching Netflix for some reason, because it feels good. That's why you're motivated to do it. Like it feels nice. So like everything that we do, every action that we take throughout the day, we're motivated in some way, shape, or form, whether we're conscious of it or not.
Yeah.
And the goal, one of my favorite quotes, unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will dictate your life and you will call it fate. Most people don't recognize the motivation that they're driven by and therefore just let themselves stumble from place to place instead of deciding what they're going to be driven by. So I think we'll hit on more of these things as we keep going. What is intrinsic and extrinsic motivation?
So intrinsic motivation is something that you are personally driven by and you are creating that motivation. External motivation is something, extrinsic is an external motivator. So a reward of some sort or praise or I guess like a salary, that would be a reward. So something external that you are constantly just doing something to get that external reward. So I think praise or recognition from another or from a group or something is probably the biggest one we would see. But I would say in society we see, or we're constantly striving to get from other people. But again, like an external reward or avoidance of a consequence. So I'm motivated to do this because I don't want to get yelled at. I'm motivated to do this because I don't want to get cut from the team. I'm motivated to do this because I don't want to get fired, like that sort of stuff. So our biggest reason and the thing that we're talking about is, do we have both? Is one positive, one negative? Should we rely on one versus the other? Or is a combination of both I can't say the best way, but a striving way to continue down the path towards whatever we are motivated to do?
So before we get to that, well, no, let's do that first. What's your when you first think about which would be most effective to utilize, external versus extrinsic or some combination, what's your gut instinct tell you?
A combination, but I think more of like a 70-30 split. Internal to external.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the reason internal, again, speaking personally, is you're always having the internal piece is always going to be there. Whether you have a strong internal drive or you have a little one, that can always be developed, and that's something you have total control over. External motivation is you might not always have external motivation around. And if you're constantly relying on it, then your your motivation towards finishing or doing anything better, I should say, is just not as rewarding. Because a big piece of us getting to where we want to be at is it probably is going to make us happy. It's probably going to make our life better. And if we're not feeling or experiencing any of that internal drive along the way, and we're just relying on people telling we're doing a good job and all that stuff, when you're sitting at home by yourself or sitting at home with your thoughts, you're probably not going to feel as good as maybe when those people are constantly talking at you. So, or constantly relying on raises or only being driven to work harder because of an external thing. In the short term, it probably does feel good, but in the long term, sustainability wise, life is changing way too much to constantly be relying on external things. There's gonna be a lot at sometimes, a little at sometimes, maybe none at sometimes. So when there's none or little, are you just gonna stop doing things and then just wait for people to start giving you things? I guess. So
Yeah.
yeah. 70-30.
70-30.
Yeah.
How have you seen that play out? What if I asked you that 5 years ago? Would have been a different answer?
For me personally,
Yep.
Yes. It would probably been.
What would the answer been, and why has it changed? Or
So
how?
I think the scale we were talking about in college, it was probably the other way, 70-30 of, for me, external to internal. Then probably about 5 years ago, it was about 50-50. And then it's slowly sliding the other way, which is cool. Yeah. In college, I was very motivated by what people thought of me, what I looked like. I was a college athlete, so it was very important to me that I was doing the best I could in school, but also excelling at softball, whether that be.
Let's be fair. Being a college athlete, you don't have to do good in school. You wanted to do that on your damn own.
Yes, I did.
That was all you. I was a college athlete, and I did not give a damn about how I did in school. These get degrees, baby. Go on. I'm a great role model, by the way.
You are. I don't know. There was always a level of, my brother was very successful in school, so wanting to meet a level that my brother was meeting in college. He also was a college athlete. Setting standards for myself and my teammates when it came to like the weight room and working out, which is just what I was always the best at because I'd been doing it for so long. So was I doing the most work in the weight room? Was I doing extra conditioning and things on the outside? And was I doing all of this other stuff I was studying exercise science. So was I eating the healthier thing? And like, I was always trying to be the example for everybody else. And I was just very motivated by other people worrying about what I was doing or how it was affecting me as an athlete and as a student, that I was very just more focused on that than what I actually was feeling on the outside. And I think it was also easy to cover it up because I was constantly doing something in college. From 6 a.m. to 6, 7, 8 p.m. I had something going on. So there's really never any time for me to just not think about
it
outside of those things. And yeah, looking back on it now, definitely overtrained in college for sure. But yeah, it was just really important to me that I was like the epitome of healthy a student athlete where I could like do it all. But I don't know if that was because that was just the way I grew up. Like my parents set a standard for me, and I'm very thankful for that. I think I just turned it into a different kind of monster in college where I just focused way too much on it and didn't really just see all of the things I was doing as like, holy crap, I'm doing a lot of things. And like, not a lot of people are doing all of these things, but I never saw it as like a success. I always saw it as like, okay, I could be doing a little bit more. Why am I not doing this a little bit better? So that was just something that I developed, I think, on my own over time. And I just set a really high standard for myself. And I think I know I have a high standard for myself, but now I'm realizing that I am meeting standard. I'm not always like trying to push. It's like I get to the standard and I'm like, oh, let's keep pushing it higher and higher and higher when I'm not really getting any gain out of it. I'm just constantly stressed about trying to meet the standard. And I wasn't living in the present at all because I was just constantly worrying about what else I could be doing or how much better I could be doing it instead of also celebrating the wins along the way and realizing, wow, I'm a student athlete. I'm an athletic training student. Like, I'm doing all of this stuff. And, my friends are enjoying, like, there's very few things I remember from college other than softball and school, which people are like, oh, college experience. I'm like, yeah, I don't.
Wasn't there for that.
So I don't regret it because I think a lot of the way that I am now is because of it. But I look back on it, I'm like, dang, I just really just didn't live. I was just so hyper focused on doing all of these things for really other people, I think. So as I got into my professional career and then I started doing strength conditioning more, and those were things that just, again, they weren't in my job description. I just enjoyed doing them. And then kids loved doing it and I was enjoying doing it. And that started motivating me more internally because I was like, dang, I'm happy doing this. I am getting external motivation from the athletes because they're gaining something out of it. We have fun when we're doing it, but I just felt like I was getting way more personal enjoyment out of doing those things. Even though it was all this extra stuff and I still set a high standard for myself, but I just felt better doing it. So I think over time, again, like it's been sliding. And again, I think like social media right now and just how everybody is functioning off of what other people think about each other. And definitely been victim to that. But as I get older and as I understand more about just what actually is motivating me to help other people, to be healthy and fit so I can do things that I enjoy, it's just so much less important. Yeah.
So after we talked when we were walking, and we were talking about this idea literally an hour ago when we developed this concept for today's episode, you said, oh, we should ask each other this question. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So I started asking you the question and so on and so forth. And you thought I was looking for an answer. And so like I gave you some feedback, but on the walk back, I was thinking more about that. And so what I talked about was both extrinsic and intrinsic motivation are necessary, I'll say. Which one you weight heavier is important because definitely I would say you should care more about what you're pursuing for your own sake, not your own sake, but your own sake and the people that you care about around you, the people that are going to be highly impacted by it, your family. But primarily, like for your own sake, that doesn't make you a selfish person. That you're pursuing something because you feel like you should pursue it and you enjoy it and you feel like it's important. Like doesn't make you a bad person. So for sure, like if it's heavily weighted on the external extrinsic side, it's gonna end up poorly most of the time. Like that's just the way that it's gonna be. And at the same time, intrinsic motivation can become a devil in and of itself. So this is something that we talked about. So really it comes down to when it comes to intrinsic motivation, as far as meaning, so how does working out intrinsically motivate you?
So being able to do the things that I want to do is a big motivator. So exercise is just fun for me, but we love hiking, we love being active and just being outside, and working out on a regular basis allows us to do that. Working out keeps us looking healthy and fit, and that is important to me because I want to look good for myself, I want to look good for you, but I also feel like working out and being able to do, I guess, certain workouts and movements is important for me as a professional, because I think as a role model and as a strength conditioning coach, I feel it is necessary to be able to show exercises that we're doing. And especially for my female athletes, where weight training still for some is maybe not something they're interested in, they're worried about getting big and bulky, being able to show them that strength training and resistance training and working hard and working out is not always, it should be viewed as something to make you a stronger person, not be big and
These
bulky.
negative,
These negative,
as you want to
right,
put them in your head.
right. So it is important to me. I am motivated by being able to be a role model for my athletes in that regard. But exercise in and of itself, I like the idea that I'm able to do the things that I want to do. I look the way that I want to look, and it's fun. So those things all, and I want to keep doing those things because I want to be able to do those things as long as I possibly can.
So before, when you were explaining how you were motivated in college, and maybe you didn't say it just then, I think you did a little bit, or, a couple minutes ago, but when we were talking, you said, I was motivated because I wanted to look a certain way. I wanted to perceive myself a certain way, and I want other people to look at me and believe that I worked out and that I was fit and so on and so forth. What I just heard you said was all very empowering stuff, much different tone, much different feel. You talked about looking a certain way and how you like the way you look, but it wasn't like, I feel like I need to look a certain way. Now it's like, oh, I like looking this way. Like, yeah, I love looking this way. But I know for myself, like, I'd also, I want to try and put on some weight this summer, maybe, or this winter. Maybe next summer when I roll around, like, I'd be like, I'll try and trim some weight off. So it's like, it's not I feel the need to look a certain way because of a deficit that I have. It's because, yeah, I like to be able to look the way that I want to look, and I want to look that way purposefully. Like, that's the way what it comes down to. But most of what you said was like, because I want to feel good, because it gives me good energy, because I want to be able to move well as I age. So like your tone about now and then are much different.
Yeah.
The difference, I believe, and we talked about how it's about the mentality of your intrinsic motivation, but I think there's a specific thing that happens whenever you have that I need to look a certain way mentality. And it is that either when it comes to at least that specific instance, you think that you're flawed, or whenever you do something and it doesn't, like, you don't get the feedback that you think that you should get, you think you're a failure. So if your motivation is attached to or driven in some way by not wanting to be flawed or not wanting to be a failure, and if you're not meeting that expectation and all you keep telling yourself is, I'm flawed, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, I'm not good enough, or you keep trying and you don't get the result that you want. You're trying to lose 10 pounds. You're trying to get to the next promotion. You're trying to find a date, whatever. And like it keeps not happening. And you keep telling yourself, I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. That's when those motivations become a problem. And that's where a lot of people go down unhealthy rabbit holes. And I think that's where you were in college.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely became obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I know we use that word like obsession. Yeah, I mean, like I was eating. I like to think about the way I was eating and working out back then, and now when I'm eating and working out, it's just so.
It's just so different. What did I have last night?
Like I pretty much religiously had a salad. I'd have like a 30-minute break between my last class and before practice, so we had to start getting ready for practice. So like I would go across the street, there'd be like, it was like a mess hall or whatever, and I would get a salad and put a bunch of stuff on it, which still love me a salad with a bunch of stuff on it, but that would be what I ate for lunch every day. And then I would have like, the morning would fluctuate. I would always have breakfast, but it would be depending on what my goal was or whatever. I would be eating X, Y, and Z, and then my dinner, same thing. Like there was pretty consistent there. So I was definitely under eating because I also, outside of lifting with my team, practicing with my team, there was one stretch where I was getting up at like 6 before morning lift and doing like the insanity workout. And then after practice, I was like, go to the rec center and get on an elliptical. Like I just was in this, it was definitely got to obsession for sure. I mean, that was about halfway through my years, and then slowly started like working myself out of it and still have been. But now I think about it and we're still lifting, we're rucking, and we're working out. We're still training every day. It's still pretty intense. We're lifting heavier weights. On Sunday, we work out with our friends. Like it's all fun. And then last night we eat
give
like
yourself up. Do it.
There's a consistency with when we have cookies and ice cream. I weigh less the next day. And it's just comical to think about it because since we have been together, I've eaten at least an extra portion / meal a day. And like we enjoy cookies and ice cream, all this stuff, like, and I've lost weight. And it's just comical to think about the obsession that I had in college, thinking that, well, this is what I'm studying. I'm in nutrition class. Like I should be able to figure this out exactly and the more and more, it's always one of those in retrospect. And now that I'm educating student athletes, it's nice in a way that I'm like, no, literally, I did all of those things and it just didn't work. Like, so now like we were talking about, people may say we're obsessed with working out or, eating right or whatever. And yeah, we are, because we're obsessed with the way it makes us feel and look and all that stuff. But the obsession is not like I would define the obsession I had in college. The obsession is just like if you enjoyed reading books, like I'm obsessed with reading books. Okay. Like it's like more of a hobby. So like obsession is such a strong word, but I feel like in this like instance, we are obsessed with it, but not to the point where we're losing the enjoyment out of it. I was obsessed with it in college and I wasn't enjoying any of it. And I just kept piling it on because I was like, I gotta figure this out, and I couldn't figure it out, and then it just became this ongoing thing. Now we're obsessed with it, but we eat cookies and ice cream, and like we're enjoying it, and we work out with our friends, and like it's just way more fun. So the obsession, from the negative connotation to the positive, is even more motivating, because why would we cut something out of our life that we know is going to benefit us in the long run? We're enjoying it, and it's just a big part of our life. So it's just interesting to think about, we've talked about me 5 years ago, 10 years ago in college, and it's just interesting to see my lifestyle really isn't that different, but the way I'm perceiving my lifestyle is very, very different. And I'm just not as, like, now I'm getting the results or I'm feeling the way that I want to feel, but I'm not thinking about nearly as much as I used to, which is just, again, like wasted thinking for no reason. And yeah, it only took me like 12 years.
Only 12.
So
Faster than this guy.
yeah, so it's just interesting to think when we were talking about the word obsession, because people are like, oh, you're so obsessed, you're obsessed, you're obsessed.
Well, again, it goes back to what is driving that obsession. Every human being, and so there was a guy at the office in Fort Thomas. There was a psychologist. I think the only difference is psychiatrists can prescribe medication and psychologists can't.
You know, you think it's something I would know, but I just don't.
Anyway, he was one of those people, and he was a young dude. He was my age or maybe younger than me, maybe only 35, probably your age. And we would get into conversations, and we were talking about, people having addicted personalities and so on. You hear that often. Yeah, they just have an addictive personality and so on. He's like, Jerry, everyone has addictive personality. Like every human being, all human beings. Like think about it. He's like, do you work out? I was like, yeah, I've been working out for carried to 2, almost 30 years now.
Square root of 7.
Yeah, almost 30 years. He's like, yeah, you eat pretty good. I was like, yeah, I eat pretty good. I mean, yeah, I eat good. He's like, okay, have you ever like played video games? I was like, yeah, I used to love video games back in the day. He's like, okay. I was like, huh. Interesting. But like, so like if you think about it, not if you think about it, but like every human being has and is addicted to something in some way, shape, or form. Again, you think about the phone as a perfect example of that. You put a phone in a baby's hand, in a 3-year-old's hand, doesn't matter what 3-year-old it is, any 3-year-old, any of them. You do that regularly for about 10 days, they will be addicted to it. Hands down, no, like it will happen. You put that same phone into a 30-year-old's hand and you ask them to just use it like like how most people use it. In 10 days, they will be addicted to it. Hands down, it will happen. So, and it's very clear because that's what everyone does. So every human being has an addictive personality. Therefore, every human being has capability and probably is obsessed with doing something in some way. They just wouldn't admit it because they don't want to call it that. But the question is, what drives the obsession? Going back to the point, like what's the thing behind it that's driving it? Is it because you think that you're a flawed human being and if you don't do this, then you're a bad person or you're not good enough? Or if I do more of it, then I'll be a better person? Or I'll cover up this flaw in my being or in my looks or in my whatever. If I don't achieve this, then I'm a failure. Like, is that why you're driven and obsessed with trying to accomplish this thing? Or are you driven to accomplish it because I think this is going to be fun. I think this is what the world needs, and that's why I'm gonna try and build this business. I think it is the thing that the world needs in order to be better. I am obsessed with exercise because it gives me tons of energy. It allows me to show up better for you. It allows me to show up better for the people around me. It allows me to live my life much more. I know in 80 years, will I be alive in 80 years? 100, how old am I going to be? 116 when I die. So no, I won't be alive in 80 years. 70 years. In 70 years, I'll still be able to move. I'll still be able to walk. I'll still be independent. I'll still be able to do those things because I took care of myself, because I trained regularly, because I ate good, and I paid attention to what I did. Like, that's why I'm obsessed with exercise. That's why I'm obsessed with eating good. That's why I'm obsessed with staying on top, getting good sleep, like doing these things. It's because in decades from now, I want to still be able to do them. The problem is, people today go, I don't feel like working out. Okay, of course, you're 20 pounds overweight. Of course you don't feel like working out. Like, get over it and just do it anyway. So, if you pay attention to the thing that, and I would argue to follow up on that point, that in order to achieve the goals that you want, you have to be obsessed. Actually, because moderation is why people are fat and out of shape, because they've convinced themselves that moderation is the way to be. So really, when it comes down to it, like to achieve the things that you say you want to do something with your body or with your life or with your family and to make it better, like to make your, if you want to be the type of person that has the best family and you guys go and do great things, like so on and so forth, like you have to be obsessed to want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way to think about it. If you don't want to use that word, I'm passionate. Great. Use the word passionate if it makes you feel better. It's the same damn thing. So paying attention to your mindset about why you're doing what you're doing, I think is incredibly important, because when you have the mindset, which we all do at some level on some things more than others, some things at different seasons in life and different stages in life. But if you're doing it and you're motivated to do it because you think you're flawed and you need to fix it, then it's going to be an issue. If you think that you're going to be a failure and you're trying to overcome being a failure, then it's going to be an issue. When it comes to extrinsic motivation, if that is the thing that drives you, you will constantly be let down because those things will just regularly not show up. It's just the way that it is. It's not fair. Sure, that's fine. It's not fair.
Or you'll be expecting it. So I think about like people that post online all the time, and maybe over time they start getting less comments. Are you going to stop posting? Or so I think the same thing, like you might get a lot of external feedback from doing the same thing, and then over time it will probably fizzle out because other things will come up. So
Yep.
at that point, do you go find another external motivator, or you start realizing like, okay, probably not the only thing I should be relying on here. So
Yep.
I guess I was just adding to your point, but
For
that
sure.
made me think of people that post, and like a lot of times when you post, you're expecting X amount of comments and things versus just posting because you want to, or you think that one person might see it, even though 1,000 people watch your video, even though they're not commenting, do you think they're not getting anything out of it? Maybe.
Yep. Excuse me. And again, like utilizing external motivation is not wrong. It's just how do you utilize it? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like I'm very motivated by you in a lot of different ways. Like when we train, and I think I told you this before, like when you, even if I can't see you, if I know, like I perceive you watching me, like it motivates me to train better. So like it's not a bad thing, but don't expect it to happen because most of the time it won't show up. So
That's a good point. Not expecting it to happen. Because when it does happen, that is motivating. You're like, oh, wow, this impacted more people than I thought. Like that might change your trajectory a little bit, but it shouldn't be something you should still have the trajectory that you're going on,
say that 5
but
times
maybe it
fast.
just elevates it more. So external motivation should be an elevator, not a standalone.
That's good. So how do you start to shift if you're the type of person that either is having a hard time or you're like just starting to understand this whole motivation thing, like feeling versus a drive of motivation? Like how do you develop some drive, like some motivational drive for yourself? Because I think a lot of people just don't do that well or don't do it at all. Instead of striving to be externally motivated, I think we're just taught, not I think, I know we're just taught to be externally motivated. This is one of my many gripes with the school system, but that you got to please the teacher, and then you gotta the tests. You got to pass the tests, and that's not. Why do I care about a damn test? Why do I care about the teacher? Like I don't. So it's like you're taught to be groomed. Maybe is a better way to put it. And then when you get to the workforce, you're groomed again to make the manager happy and make that person happy, and so on and so forth. So unless you're a stubborn bull like me and you just push against everything around you and you go, no, I'm going to figure this out, like, then it's likely you just found yourself in a place where it's like all you're doing is seeking external motivation. So how do you start to build more intrinsic motivation?
That's a great question. Would you like to start?
Nope.
First two things I think about are find something you enjoy and find somebody to lean on.
Okay.
So to find something you enjoy, like you said, everyone is motivated to do or be something. So if you think about it as, if you look at that big picture, we always fall back on exercise, but what's another? So motivated to be the best parent they could be or something. So you get back from work and you've been at the office all day, you're exhausted. You still have that motivation deep down about being, showing up for your family, but you're just not motivated at the time because you're tired from work. Find something that you'll enjoy with your family. And I think the biggest thing is once you decide to do it, maybe scheduling it even, you just do it regardless. And until you decide not to listen to the I'm not motivated feeling and just decide to do it, or I'm not motivated to exercise, you just go ahead and do it anyway. Because I would venture to guess that if it's something you enjoy, after you get over that 5-second I'm not motivated to do it, if you do it for about a minute, you're probably going to forget about not the motivation because you're doing something you enjoy now. So I would, over time, that will probably just accumulate, right? Mm-hmm. So then when you get home from work, like the first thing that you enjoy is going into your kid's bedroom and surprising him and, sitting with them and asking about what they learned in school today. Then that will accumulate into playing with them for an hour. And then that will accumulate into, and then you just kind of forget about not being motivated. But that one thing that makes you happy might drive you. So I think you also have to just think about what your motivation is, and it could be one thing, it could be multiple things, but breaking it down. So if you're really excited about working out or you're motivated to get healthier and maybe you don't work out, I guess is a better example. What's something that you do enjoy? Is it walking outside? Is it calling your friend and going for a walk outside? Is it spending time with your friend and how can you use that friend to your advantage to do something physically active? So you're at least going to enjoy your time because you're chatting with your friend and whatever, and now you're on a walk that you would have never done before. But I think by using other people to help you, so like in the family example, your significant other could be in charge of you scheduling. Hey, you just got home, you look tired, but got to go do it. Or your friend knows that you get home at 5, she's at your door at 5:05. Let's go for a walk. Oh, I don't feel like, come on, let's go. So I think using people around you as a support system, and maybe they're not around you. Maybe it's, if my mom she could call, I know she's going to call me at 5:05 and be like, let's go for a walk. And then maybe we talk on the phone or something like that. So I think finding something you enjoy and then using your network, or if you're in a gym, like once you get to that point where you're building up to working out at a fitness studio or something, those 5 people that all don't feel motivated are all showing up, and you want to now, it's fun working out with them, and you're like, ooh, I don't want to let them down. And now you're getting exercise out of it, and you're getting something with people, and you're supporting each other through probably the same thing. So I think those would be my two building things.
That's good. And I would say that is exactly what you're doing for your mom right now, actually, because I can't remember if she actually, whenever you first started making the training program for her, I think partly it was like, hey, you want to put her on it because you wanted to test the program
Yeah.
out, but also like she's been wanting to do more running and she's wanting to get her shoulders better and this, that, and the other thing, but like she's not going to do it on her own. Most likely, she's very active. I'm not taking that away from her by any stretch.
She
But
just needed a plan, because she'll go to
correct,
she'll go to the gym for
correct,
like 2 hours and
right?
be doing something the
Yeah,
entire time.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
She's super active, so I'm not taking that away from her. But meaning she's not going to go do like the running plan on her own. She's not
Yeah.
going to do. She's not going to do that out. So it's something she enjoys. You're holding her accountable to it. You're helping her along with it. So that's literally what you're doing for your mom. I would also say that that's the reason why people hire coaches is to keep them motivated. Because if you have a schedule with a coach, if you have an appointment with a coach, you're more likely to show up. Sadly, like it is what it is. This is how most human beings are, but you're more likely to show up for another human being than you are for yourself. So if you have an appointment with a coach, you don't want to let the coach down. You're going to show up and work out with the coach. Plus, the coach is there to tell you you do a good job, and especially if they do it in a semi-private setting, which is much more effective than a one-on-one setting because there's people around. You're like, oh yeah, there are more people around. This is fun. Like you get to know people and you get to watch them and you get to watch them make progress and you get to ask them about their journey and so on and so forth. So that's literally why most people should have, like, my belief is when it comes to fit, like most people just shouldn't get gym memberships. They should have a suck it up and pay $500 or $400 a month and find yourself a good coach. Like that's really just the way it should be. You're going to save yourself lots of money in the long run and lots of anguish and self-doubt and pity and so on and so forth. So, so yeah, I would say that those are the things that you're doing. And I'd say spot on. So to go on top of those things are two things. One is be able to have a why, a purpose, a thing that is much further down the road and much bigger that you're trying to go after. Many people have a hard time thinking down the road, even next year, I would say. That's one of the things that you and I clashed heads about in the beginning, and is because like my mind goes, I've trained myself, and I think just maybe innately, like I was able to do that, but I think mostly like I've done it for so long. Like now it's just like you tell me something, I'm in the vision. Like boom, I'm thinking 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road. So when it comes to doing something, especially that doesn't have an end to it, which is things like health and fitness, growing a business, a career, like those things technically have an end, but like if your goal is to get to retirement, you just need to lay over and die anyway. If I'm being totally honest, like, because that's what's going to happen when you retire. Where was I? But like those things are decades and decades and decades, right? So it's like if you can think of some bigger thing down the road that you want to be able to do and accomplish, and remind yourself of that in those moments where you're like, oh, I don't feel like doing this. I'm not, oh, this is getting hard. This is getting challenging, so on and so forth, which it does for everybody, always, all the time. Like it's regular, it's normal. In those moments, you can go, oh, that's right. Like I don't feel like doing it today, but my 80-year-old self is going to be really pissed if I skip this workout. My 80-year-old self is going to be really pissed if yet again I go out on Thirsty Thursdays with the boys. Like, my 80-year-old self's not going to be very happy with me. So I think if you can have something that's down the road that is a bigger vision and bigger than you, then that will help. And at the same time, appreciate the trees along the way. So recognize that the journey is the way. The journey is the goal. And that is where you should attach your motivation. If you can do that, then you'll set yourself up for success. If you can recognize that showing up to those workouts that suck, showing up to work and doing that project again, even though you just did it and they're asking you to redo it, or going and having this hard conversation, or whatever, like whatever the thing is that feels the same or just feels like monotonous or feels hard or whatever it is, like that's the thing. Like, that's the goal. The journey is the goal. Achieving things along the way is just what ends up happening, right? The external motivations that everyone wants to attach to, the more money, the bigger business, to so on and so forth. All that's fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, we're going to have lots of fucking money. I've told you from the beginning, like, I know exactly where we're going, but I don't attach myself to that. I attach myself to all the things I have to do to get there. Like, because I know there's a big ass wall. Like, I feel like Sisyphus most of the time trying to push a damn boulder up the hill constantly, over and over and over again. But that's the thing of it. Like, that's the goal. And if you recognize that the process is the thing, it is the goal, it is what you're after, then you'll accomplish a lot more. Like, all the goals you think you have will just come and go because you'll be motivated by doing the thing, because that's the thing.
Right. You have to find a way to enjoy it. I think people are just so stressed about trying to get to the end, making all this money, doing all this stuff, that they're not enjoying the journey along the way. So it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, like, but understanding that the work that you're putting in and hard work can be enjoyable, especially when you get through it. So, like, the hard workout's a great example. The whole workout, you're like, this was horrible. And at the end, you probably feel pretty good about it. That can apply to a lot of different things. When you're working your butt off on that project, but when you get to it and then your boss is like, you killed it. Sweet. Like, you probably, the reason you're doing that work, hopefully, and maybe this is something that eventually you need to work towards, is you should be enjoying some of it at some point. If you're not enjoying anything in your life, you probably should reconsider a few things. And I'm not saying everything is going to be enjoyable, for dang sure, but if things that you're constantly doing are either progressively getting worse or not ending in some sort of enjoyment or some sort of challenge that you're pushing yourself to accomplish, you probably should try to insert some of those things. And maybe that can be a motivating factor for something. I want motivated to be happy about something. And you might have to try a bunch of different things. But it might be, reading books. Like, I've never been reading books, but I'm going to start reading books. Or it might be exercise. But if you're constantly going from one thing to the next and none of it is enjoyable and all you're talking about is how stressful your life is, then by the time you get to that end goal, it's probably going to be the same. Even if the goal is like, oh, have a bunch of money and be super happy, you may get there eventually, but then once you get there, you don't even know if that's going to make you happy because you've been so miserable. You could be going down a whole different path if you find something that you enjoy. And then you still could end up with a bunch of money and all this stuff, but the path itself is going to be way much more enjoyable by the time you get there. And then you're going to feel way better about all the things that you accomplished in your life, or all the things that you went through and experienced and all that stuff, instead of all the time that you spent stressing and doing all the stuff. And then by the time you get to the end, you're like, wow, it really wasn't as cool as I thought. So you can't, there's no guarantee that that end thing is going to be there. You can certainly envision it, and who knows, maybe it's more than what you're picturing or motivated to do. But if you're not doing anything productive or you're enjoying anything along the way, it's not worth it.
Facts. Okay. Good ending. Okay. Get this one lined up. Find your drive, your personal drive, the thing that drives you, things that pushes you forward. Let external motivators be useful, but recognize that they're going to show up at random, unregular intervals, and you can't decide when they're going to show up. They're just going to show up when they do, so appreciate them when they do show up, and find a way to enjoy the process along the way.
Good.
Okay. Get her done. Until next time.